Good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday already. I feel like we were just here. But you know what? I think I say that every time because it does feel like these weeks are just flying by. I cannot believe we're in the middle of October. Good morning, Miss Jan. Thanks for joining me. So, we are going to talk about Enchanted Winter, which is the newest square wall hanging quilt, whatever you'd like to call it, large project that Kimberbell has released. And this is totally my colors. I absolutely love the way this looks. And it is absolutely stunning as these are being stitched out. We've been working on the sample. Hello, Miss Mary. Thanks for joining me. So we are going to talk about one of the blocks today. They are not super complicated in general. This one has a little bit of a twist, which is why I'm going to do this one. So I was talking to some ladies that were in class this past week, and they said, you should do the mitten block. That one's got a little weird something in it. So here we are. We're going to do the mitten block. And I guess I hadn't really looked at the stitch outs. I had just looked at the big picture. So the Enchanted Winter is what we're talking about. And this is purples and blues and greens and teals. And it's just totally me. And I have to say, I super love penguins. Polar bear, there's just so many cute things in here. So there are quilting designs that we did here that are available if you would like. Kimberbell does also have quilting patterns. If you pre-ordered, you would have gotten those for free. Good morning, good morning. So one thing I will say, sometimes the embellishment kits have mostly things that you can pick up or you've got left over. Hi, Mom. Left over from something else. This embellishment kit is very, very specific. It has beads, it has rhinestones, the buttons, which you can stitch anything that is a button. So if you didn't get the embellishment kit, for instance, the little ice cream cone, you could stitch the ice cream cone. Yes, and I actually started working on swapping colors because I'm using all exquisite colors today. So I will absolutely work on that. So we'll have that for you, Miss Jan, no problem. There is like some sweater material. There's some velveteen in here. There's little pom-poms. There's definitely things that are going to be hard to find individually. So I would suggest that you get the embellishment kit. If you don't normally, this is definitely one that you would want. Some of the stuff in there you do, it's glitter vinyl or something like that. But all of the rhinestones and all of those little specialty things, getting the right color and all of that, it's just, I would recommend going ahead and getting that this time around. So the book is, as always, a beautiful printed instruction manual with large color photos and step-by-step instructions telling you what color to use where. So we're going to just jump right in. So the first thing I want to do is I did a little bit of movie magic here because I wanted to give this a chance to dry a little bit. So like I said, this one does have a little bit of different something. And we have to make the little string that connects these mittens. So I don't know if you remember either when your kids were little or when you were little and you'd have mittens and they'd have a little thing that clipped them together so that the pair could stay a pair instead of just one random one here and one random one there. So this is a lace string that is going to connect to those two mittens. And so you have to stitch this and then rinse it, let it dry, and then put it into the mittens. And I didn't want you guys to have to wait for all of that to happen. So I did hoop just 2 layers of that's not no show. I'm so sorry. Wash away mesh. And you can tell that by the little dots that are in there. So let's see if that helps. If I single that out a little bit, the little circles that are in there, that is a wash away. If it's got the lines, that is a no-show. So that's how you can tell those apart. I did put in 2. I wasn't sure how heavy that was. I will say you could probably get away with 1. And it is I put it in that 5x7 hoop, stitched it out, and then rinsed it and let it dry. I did press it between paper towels to get it to dry a little bit faster. It's pretty dry. I think we're good to put it in there. I just wanted you guys to see how that was stitched. I did that using ES104 and I had a matching bobbin. So you're going to have both sides of that be that nice blue color. It's kind of a nice royal blue. So we are going to jump into stitching the block. I've got no-show mesh. This block is going to finish out at 6x8, and the hoop I'm using is a 7x12. So I've got just a little extra room on the sides and plenty of extra room on the top. I've got my batting and then all of my applique pieces and of course my background. So we're going to stitch this, and I am going to use a really nice light purple. It is color, I believe, ES379, and we're going to do that. So we're going to do our placement line. We're going to jump over here to the machine. So I've got, again, my no-show mesh, and again, that color I've got in is ES379 to do my quilting. So we're going to do that placement line for our batting. Kimberbell does have a couple new things coming up as well. There is an adorable Sweetheart Street pillow, and that is going to be for like Valentine's Day, and it's following the theme of our other street pillows. So we had the Main Street for 4th of July. We've had the Easter one that we did the one block with the boot and the bunny and everything. So there's lots of other streets. I really like those. I think they're very darling, and it just gives plenty of options. You know, if you don't like something, you could change it, but the embellishments on those are always really cute as well. There is a complete new thread line that's coming to do that one too. So it's going to have a candy theme. So like Valentine's candy, the little conversation hearts and things like that. So it is a very cute one, and that's actually going to be out next month, I believe. So probably by the end of the month. As always, just like with the large quilts we do for the pillows as well, there'll be quilting designs available for free if you pre-order that. I will see if I can pull up and post what that looks like, but I'll at least be able to throw the link into the comments there so you can see what that is. And then next March, there's another large quilt like this. It's going to be another square 40x40. And that one is called Sippin' on Sunshine. So it's kind of a spring theme. Instead of spring showers, this is about the sunshine. So you get lots of really pretty things there. So we've got our batting tacked down. We just need to remove that excess. All right, and I already have my purple thread in, so I don't need to change threads or anything when I get to that quilting step. I will go ahead and stitch the squaring stitch so you can see where to place your fabric, but at home I usually skip that one. Do try to get as close to that line without cutting it as possible, because that excess is going to go into your seam allowance if you have too much going over those edges. That's what's allowing here, is for that 1/4 inch seam allowance. So back at the machine, we are going to, like I said, stitch that placement line for our outside fabric edges. It is pretty obvious you need to have clearance on all sides of your batting. So you can see it's just going to go all the way around. And this is that really pretty tossed flowers. It's this beautiful lilac. I have always just loved purple. My secondary color choice preferences have changed over the years, but purple has always been right up there. When you do this in the hoop, make sure that you kind of rub your hand over the back to make sure that you are over that edge. It's really hard to see all the way back there, and it can sometimes give like the shadow that you think you're over the line, but you're not actually. So I can feel that back there. I know I'm good. I'm going to go ahead and tack this down, which is the next color stop. So this color purple has just a hint of blue to it. I really like it. We've used it for some other things as well. It does very, very nice with this fabric. And it also, we have those little blue stems from those flowers that it kind of picks up a little bit of that as well. It's just a really nice color for this. So we're going to do some quilting. This is one of my quilt blocks. I did not use the Kimberbell one here, so we're going to stitch Mittens as our background. It's going to do some lines of those. So here we go. So we were talking the other day about how, good morning, how we have really changed how we do some of these projects. And back in the day, we actually used to build each square without any quilting and then sew them all together in the shape that the quilt is supposed to be in, put the batting in more like a traditional quilt. And then if we had the opportunity, we had the built-in quilting systems. So we would trace our outside square. And then in this case, we would trace the mitten so it didn't stitch on top of the mitten. And it would quilt around whatever that is. So quilt around your penguin, quilt around your house, to your trees, whatever it happens to be. You could trace that shape, trace your square, and then have it stitch in between those lines. And I kind of miss that. That was a really fun way of doing it. The only hard part with that is that you had such a large piece of fabric that you were quilting, just like when you're quilting with a free motion or something like that, and you're handling such a large piece of fabric. That was the only downside to that, in my opinion. It was a lot of fun, and you could get some really things, and it actually kind of pushed your design up a little bit. So it gave it a little poof because the quilting went around it instead of behind it. So it was already stitched, and it just gave it a little extra 3D look to it. It was kind of a cool thing. I have some of those on my walls at home that are kind of like the hallway in from the garage. So I get to pass them every day, and I look at them and I'm like, that was so much fun. One of these days, I'll have to show you guys how I did that. I'll have a block and we'll talk about how to trace around something because it's definitely a really neat thing. The Dream Machine, the Destiny, the XJ and XE, the Meridian and the Altair, the Luminaire, the Solaris, and then the Avenir and the Radiance all have the ability to do that. Good morning. Good morning. So yeah, we are doing kind of the new style with quilting in the hoop and quilting as we go. So the two lines here are your seam allowance that you have. So the outside line would be where you would cut. And then the inside, you can kind of see that edge there a little bit. And that is where your batting edge is. So a lot of times we will use that 1/4 inch to travel when we're doing some quilting. So if you see that it's stitching down here a little bit farther and it's not a 1/4 inch apart, that's because that stitch is out of the square. So it's following the seam allowance to take care of that. So the first thing that we are going to get to stitch is going to be applique placement. So I'm actually going to put white thread in. It'll make it a little bit easier to see. And the first color that I'm going to stitch, I believe, is going to be in white. In the color guide, it's having you use a linen. It doesn't actually show white. When it comes to like snowflakes and things like that, I really like a white, really sharp pop of that. So I am going to go ahead and do those in white. Maybe I'll change one of the stitches out. There's some stars in the middle of the mittens that maybe we can do in that linen color instead, so you guys can see what those would look like if you did all of that. So we have one of my favorite ways of doing the applique. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to place that little lace rope that I stitched. But with the applique, it's going to do all of those placement lines together instead of switching back and forth. So I can just use one thread and do placement line, tack down line, trim that out, do the next one. So this is one of my favorite ways to have applique programmed if you have multiple layers of things. You do all of the applique first and then you do the decorative stitching. I totally love metallic. I don't have an open metallic here, or I might use that. So Jane is saying that she really likes, oh, my mouse, there we go. My mouse disappeared for a second. Her personal favorite for snowflakes is the Kingstar Metallic Silver. It's absolutely beautiful. I have all of the Kingstar colors at home, open and heavily used, but I don't have them all open here. I didn't think to bring one, but that would be an excellent choice as well. If you have never used Kingstar thread, it is an absolutely beautiful way to accent something, and it stitches just like regular thread. It literally is easy. It's not the nightmare that a lot of metallic threads tend to be. So the first thing I said we're going to do is those placement lines. Let's see. So we're going to see little boxes and the mitten outline. So it's going to do the mitten outline, and then there'll be a little box, which is going to show me where to place our string. Carolyn, you want to join me? She says, no, thanks. I'm stitching your mittens. She says, good. So we're going to see, and I'll bring it over to the other camera so that you guys can see things a little bit better. But it's definitely, I'm glad I did at least the white. You could probably even do another color if you wanted, but there's just a little notch inside of that mitten. I'll try to zoom in on the other camera so that you can see that. So what I'm going to do here is, let's see if I can find, let's zoom just a little bit. And the mitten is coming here. All right, and there's just a little extra square that's right there, and it's the same thing on the other side. Here's the mitten line itself, and then we've got a tiny little square, and those squares are where we're going to put our little lace piece. So you've got a loop-de-doo, all right, and what we're going to do is we're going to place this guy here, and it's going to sit right inside that little square, and we're going to tape it down because, of course, how would you ever get that to stay otherwise? Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing over here, and we're going to put that right in that little notch right there, and we're going to tape that down. All right, so we still have this other bit, and it's actually supposed to, I didn't show you that very well, did I? I'm so sorry, I forgot I zoomed in so far. So we're literally placing our piece right into that square, and then we're going to tape, not on top of it, but just outside of it. And this piece is going to hang below your stitch line. It's actually going to go into like the border of, let's zoom that back out just a little bit. See what I get for trying to show you. So I'll just redo this end here just that you can see. You're going to find your square, place the little point right here, right into that piece. And then you're going to tape not right where it's stitching, but everything around it so that that stays in position. And here's an extremely, extremely important part. We're now going to cover that all up with a water-soluble topper. I did not pre-cut this, but I did bring the roll. So we're just going to take and cut all the way across, really, really crooked. Let's try going this way. I evidently don't cut sideways very well. Okay. So we're going to cover this up. We do not want our embroidery foot grabbing any of that. So I am going to just tape these outside of my stitch lines for anything so that my tape's not going to be an issue anywhere. So here's my seam allowance, and I'm just going to put the tape, make sure it's outside of that. Okay, So I've got water soluble topper completely covering that section. And I've got my little points tucked into those squares, and those are taped in place. We're going to then go back to the machine and stitch those in. Haha, that was great. So let's try that again because I'm not sure I switched the camera. We're going to show you that a little bit again. One more time. Sorry about that, guys. So zoomed in, we've got our mittens. All right. And that little square, you're going to place your notch right in that square and then tape the edges down. Don't tape right over that, just tape right outside. And the same thing is going to happen over here. We're going to find your mitten line and take and put that right inside there. Okay. And the edges of here, like I was saying, but you couldn't see, are going to be off of the stitch line. That's okay. That's where they're supposed to go. We're going to cover that completely with a water soluble topper and then tape that down as well. Now we'll go back to the machine. I'm so sorry. It's new having to change the camera by myself, so I apologize. Yeah, I apologize. I see all your comments going, hey, but see when I'm faced over there, I can't see the comments either, which is always problematic. But let's see if there's anything else that we need to address. Metallic, can't see. Yeah. On joining scrap piece of leftover stabilizer. So one of the questions in here is about using leftover stabilizer and joining those pieces. I think that this kind of project would probably be fine for that because you wouldn't really see that. You can generally, there's actually tape that is designed specifically for that, and you put one edge on and then the other edge together, and then you can just do a really big zigzag through there to keep those pieces hanging on. That's generally what people do for that. And yes, I did understand what you were saying even without your add-on in there, but yes. So and she's telling you how she does it with a zigzag and water soluble thread, because that's a great point. Once it's joined and in your project, it doesn't really matter what is that. So the water soluble stabilizer is what I believe she's talking about. So there's water soluble topper and there's water soluble stabilizer. What you see in the hoop right now is a topper, not a stabilizer. Water soluble stabilizer. Yep. So there you go. It is literally like a basting tape. I'll have to look up and get the actual name. I don't remember what the specific name of it is, but it's literally a joining tape, and it's, I don't know, like a 1/2 inch wide. And then you can put little bits of each side of your stabilizer. I'm sorry, your batting on there and then join that. Stabilizer itself, I don't know that I would recommend joining for most things if it's going to be like this, because that stitch line can show through. Which your water soluble is a great idea for getting rid of that afterwards. So I will have to look up the name of the tape and maybe add it into the comments later, because I'm sorry, I don't remember the name of it. But honestly, there's water soluble stuff out there too of tapes. There's tearaway tapes, there's sewing tapes, all kinds. Yeah, absolutely. That's what we're here for, right? So our next stitch is just going to be that tack down of those inner edges there. So we're going to just go ahead with that, and it's going to grab hold of those little tips that we put in there. Okay, and then it's going to jump over here. Now, if I didn't have that topper on here, my foot would possibly catch on the edge of that, and it would push it right out of the way, which is why the topper is really important. It gives it a smooth edge to go right over top of, so that works really well. All right. All right, let me catch up in my directions here so I make sure I'm putting the right color of fabric in. We've got a couple different pieces that we are going to do here. Now, like I had mentioned before, these are all going to be placement lines and then tack down lines. I'm so sorry, pardon me. we are going to leave our topper on there for a little while. We'll tear away pieces of it as we go. But this is going to tell me where to put the next color. So we have our plate, our actual where the mittens are, but these are the individual parts of that. And I'm just trying to make sure that my foot doesn't catch on the edge of my topper here. I could have put a bigger piece of topper down and that would have prevented that. Maybe you guys should do that. That way you're not worrying about it catching here. So we've got a couple color stripes that are going to be in a light color. There's kind of a nice teal color in the center and then this royal blue on the edges here. So same thing is going to be over here. We're going to get these two placement lines that are there on this side over here, except for whatever reason it didn't like that beginning, but that's okay. I don't actually need that there. I apologize. Excuse me. All right. Once you have stitched these placement lines, any topper that's inside of there, we want to get rid of. So I'm just going to pull this back towards me just enough that I can reach. And the stitch lines of those should help me tear that away. So I'm going to have to grab some scissors for this one because the edges are all in there. Let's just get rid of that whole section there. Okay, now we are going to take our fabric and cover up both sides. Make sure that all of those edges are covered. And I'm going to place that back in the machine. And we're going to do there. So this is a really nice solid. Actually, all of the mitten colors are solid. Going around twice because it's tacked down. So we're going to see a couple of those. You could, of course, tape this down. You guys know how much I love my tape, so I'm just holding it to keep it nice and smooth and make sure nothing's going on here. There's our left hand. Pardon. Grab a drink. These are just so my colors, purple and teals and blues. This whole quilt just speaks to me. Carolyn has been working in between customers to get all of that this quilt done, and she's been making some really good progress. Maybe I should ask one of them to bring over some of the squares that she's got done so you can see things other than this one. They are very cute. All right, camera change. That's my job. All right, here we go. We are going to trim away our excess just like we normally do. And so this is going to be the steps for the next couple of things. We're just going to continue to do our applique pieces here. And anytime that there is a piece of water soluble topper in your way, you're going to remove that topper as you go. So the fabrics will keep the bits in place. And of course, the edges of your applique fabric will keep your foot from getting caught anywhere as it goes through as well. So So I'm just sticking one end in and I'm pushing up to that seam so that I can get close. When you have two pieces that are so close together, sometimes it can be hard to get that in position. So we've got that all trimmed out. We're going to go back over here, and our next piece is going to just be another applique of the mitten. So here we are. We're going to do those placement lines, and just like before, if there is still stabilized topper, in there, we'll remove it as we go. But we want to keep our pieces covered so that we don't have anything to get caught on. So this is going to be the top and the bottom piece, and that is going to be in a dark blue that kind of matches our string that we did. So we have to, again, remove anything that is in the way. So there's a little bit of topper in here. I'm going to get that out. And it actually looks like it caught a little bit of my string in there. Trying to decide if I care. Yeah, I think I'm going to try to get that out too. So the corner here tucked in just a bit to where the mitten is, and those stitches grabbed hold of that. And I would prefer my string to be completely free moving. So I'm just going to snip those placement lines that it grabbed and push that a little bit more out of the way. So that's a little better. Nice. That topper over what we can. That's a little better. All right, so let's see. We've got a little bit of topper in here. And let's get that out of here now too. So there's still a tiny, tiny bit of that in there, but I think it's going to be okay. All right, we're going to come back over here, and now we're going to put our blue fabric over top of those lines. This is a really big piece. You're going to have some leftovers in the middle, but this way it covers up everything. I don't necessarily recommend just using small strips because of all of the extra going on. This fabric actually protects the foot from getting caught in any of those bits. All right, so again, I'm going to be able to see this really clear because I have my white. Good morning, Miss Karen. So there's the top. And then it's going to just come all the way down here and do the little cuff part down at the bottom. Well, after it does the top of the other side, I guess, but you never know the order, do you? You think you know what's going on, and then the foot moves in a completely opposite direction, right? Excuse me. So completely off topic, there is a really fun thing coming up. This is, they're calling it Radiance Girls. So it was designed for people that have this machine that I'm sewing on, but you can always come in. It doesn't really matter what machine you have. It's a free class. It's going to be October 25th. 11 a.m. Central is noon here. So at noon, it is absolutely free, which is the awesome part, right? And this is basically a scanning code. So you could scan that in and it will take you to the registration. It's absolutely free. You get the designs for free when you register. They'll show up the day of the event. You won't get them the day you register. You'll get them on the 25th. And it doesn't matter what machine you use. It literally says right on there. And this is what she'll be doing. So she actually has a really, really cool technique that she has created, and it does jump stitches that are like 2 inches or 3 inches or whatever it is. So instead of having it cut, it jumps back and forth, and then you cut, and it makes hair. So you actually have some 3D hair pieces. This is just three friends. You can choose your colors of thread. You can use crazy threads and things. So this is just going to be a lot of fun. I would love to have a group of ladies and gentlemen here if they would like to come on the 25th. We can put it up on our TV, and then you guys can talk about different things while it's happening. So that is October 25th, and I am super excited about it. I have some of her other designs. Zandra Shaw, and she is out of actually Australia, which is crazy, right? Because she actually gets up at like midnight to teach classes for us at a time that, because they're so different in the time, which is why I say it's crazy, not because it's crazy to be Australian. Of course, that's just fine because, you know, we have an Australian technically working here. I mean, she's American now, but definitely came from there. Anyway, the time change is just nuts. It's like 12 hours difference, and she actually gets up and teaches classes at midnight, or stays up, I guess, maybe, to be able to teach for us, which is just so cool. And if you think about that, I mean, that's some dedication, right? That's just awesome. So, like I said, there is a lot of leftover fabric here, but I highly recommend that you don't do smaller pieces, because you want that foot protected so that it doesn't get caught in any of the little bits that are happening going on around here. So, all right, almost there. Be careful as you're cutting. Don't go so fast that you catch bits that are underneath, because again, there's a lot going on down there. So just take your time, especially when you get around these points here. And like I said, you can see there's a huge section there. You could certainly save that scrap for something else if you are a scrap saver. So there we go. We've got our mittens. They're starting to come to life, right? On a side note, my mittens are all going the same direction. I didn't have them tossed. So I did rotate that because when it came up in the machine, the mittens were pointing that way, and then these mittens were pointing this way. So I would flip one or the other. It doesn't matter which one, but having your mittens, if you're using my quilting files, going all the same way. I debated on, do I want that? And I personally didn't like them being opposite. So just a little something. All right. Africa. I could have sworn they said Australia, but I suppose that's possible too. Um, you'll be there, but not there. Understood. I'm super excited about it. It was really great actually having you here, but I certainly understand you're not going to fly over just to watch that. So absolutely understandable. All right. Our next step is going to be the thumbs in the middle stripes. It's going to do a placement line. Again, at home, I would probably skip this because at this point, I know where that's going to go, but that's okay. We'll follow along. We'll do what we're told for the moment anyway. Hello, Ms. Dagmar. How are you doing today? Good morning. Good morning. Thanks for joining. Another thumb, another stripe. I love this color. This is one of my favorites. And these colors, like I said, together, they're just talking to me. I'm so happy doing these. This is just beautiful for me. All right, so we've got this cool teal color we're going to drag in here. We're going to completely cover. I'm going to make sure I've got that other edge covered as well that I can't see quite as well. Oops, just moved everything. There we go. And rock and roll. Again, you could tape these down if you're not comfortable with having your hands so close to the needle. I certainly, I'm over that at this point, but I do definitely pay attention. I don't recommend putting your hand in here and then looking away and talking to somebody. I definitely think you need to be paying attention if you're going to put your hands in there. There's actually a ton of tools out now that hold, that you can put in there instead of your hand. There's little wood ones with a little grip on the end. There's kind of like a stiletto type tool. Lots of options. It's just a matter of what's comfortable for you. I have some of those tools. I never think to grab them. And of course, they're all at home. I don't have them here. But a stiletto or anything really can work. But you need something with grip so that you can actually hold that. I wouldn't use like my turning tool that's just metal because there's no grip on that. So, all right, I need to trim. So let's do that. I think maybe I need to get my little switcher box somewhere else. That might help because it's way on the other side of the table, which is where Sarah sat. So that worked really well for her, but not so much when I'm trying to do all of them. So we'll have to play with that a little bit. But I got to tell you, this machine is just huge and it takes up so much of this table. There's not a lot of space left for other stuff. So I got to figure that one out. So there was no water soluble left underneath here, just throwing that out there. If there is on yours, if you did cover the entire thing, you do want to remove that water soluble before you place that fabric. All right, so I'm just going to get rid of that. And we are basically all applique fabrics are in place. So how cute, little striped mittens. All right, we are going to start some decorative stitching. This is where it's having you use the quote unquote linen. I have white in. It's just literally white. It is Exquisite's number 10, which is literally called white. The little purple thing is a nice tool. I have one of those somewhere. Not sure where at the moment. I will freely admit my sewing room is kind of a hot mess. I haven't really been sewing much. I've been here, which has been a lot of fun also, but I do miss sewing. I am still working on that tile scene. I am bound and determined to finish it before we go to Novi, and I'm running out of time. I have about 2 weeks probably-ish left to get that done. I am halfway there, so I'm close. So I'm liking the white here, guys. I don't know about you, but I think that is a pretty good choice. I'll show it to you up close a little bit there. So we've got these stripes here. It's going to do the same thing on the other side, of course. We've got some snowflakes that are going to come here. There are some stars here, and I think that linen color that we have might be nice there, but I don't know. What do you guys think? That is a great question, Jane. And I don't know the answer. The throat space is 14 inches instead of 13 inches. So at least that, but the embroidery arm is larger. And I've not had one sitting next to one another to have that measurement. But that is a really great question that I should find out and know the answer to. I will check on that as well. I should be writing this down, huh? So we need the name of the basting tape for batting and the size difference. Okay, I will have to get back to you guys on that. Oops, there we go. All right, so we've got that done. The next is going to be the stars. What do you guys think? Should I go white or should I go and just leave the white for all the decoration, or should I change that? This is number 828. It's just got a little bit of a yellow tint, and I'm not sure I want that, to be perfectly honest. No opinions from the peanut gallery. Does anybody want to pitch in? Because I think I'm going to stick it with the white. 5, 4, 3, 2, going with the white. All right, so this is going to be some cute little stars across the teal. Yep, that's kind of what I thought when I held it up. Like the flowers. Okay, good. Yep. Well, I'm glad we all agree. The peanut gallery has spoken. I chose the right one. These are super cute. This is a little different, but how fun. And what a cute little piece of lace. I don't know how else I could use that. I wonder what stitch they used to create that because it is very, very cute. It is very cute. I really like that string. I wasn't sure how it was going to stitch out, but it's really cool looking. And you guys know me. I like lace. I actually wore my jacket that I built all the lace into. I can show you guys if you want. I wore my jacket in today. It's just a little chilly this morning. Yep, good choice. I think the yellow would have looked like they got dropped in the snow and a dog came along or something. I don't know. But so that was the linen that we've used in our other designs. I know she's used white as well, so um, this will still go even though I didn't use that color. It tells you to use that for all of these decorative pieces that we're doing, including the snowflakes. So the snowflakes is why I went, nope, I need that to be white because I don't want dirty snowflakes. So that was the first thing that I looked at. But I thought maybe I could do some of the others, but I like them all in white. What do we got? Let's see. Yeah, it was a little rainy this morning. I took the dogs out and it was just sprinkling at home. Um, didn't bother to curl my hair because there's just no point if it's like this. Even a little bit of moisture in my hair and anything I do will just fall right out. So I gave up on that a long time ago. So straight hair it is. It's funny. If you guys have met my mother, she has the curliest hair. It's this adorable little ringlet curls she's got, and I get straight nothing. There's not even a wave in my hair. There's nothing. Just straight. But that's okay. I can curl it. It just doesn't stay in the rain. Or in the moisture, I guess. It's better. Almost there. One more star. All right. So our next stitch is going to be our snowflakes. So I really like the excuse me, the order of stitching here. This is really kind of my favorite way to design something. When you have all of these appliques, if you do decorative stitches and things in between, it just goes back and forth. You have to change your thread all the time. Maybe when I hit puberty. I don't know. When's that going to happen? I'm kind of passing the other part at this point. That's where I'm at. So I don't know about that puberty thing, Miss Jane. But hmm, I have to think about that one. Yeah, I gave up on my hair a long time ago. I mean, I think we always want what we don't have, right? So if you have curly hair, you want at least straighter hair. And if you have straight hair, you want at least a little bit of curl or maybe a lot, whatever. But I think that's a pretty normal thing. I certainly have heard that whenever I make a comment. I certainly hear, well, I want this and I have, I have curly hair and I want straight. It definitely is a thing. So, yeah, white snowflakes, definitely a good choice on that one for sure. All right, we've got the other one to go, and then we're going to just continue to do decorative stitching. There's a very cute scallop edge. We're going to use our purple, which is this purple that we quilted with. We're going to put that as a scallop edge on that stripe there, and then we're going to do satin stitches, and that will be the entire thing. So it's super cute. I'm very pleased how it went in there. The only thing is, I think, watch your piece of lace string that you don't get it caught too much in the mitten. I didn't get too much in there, but just a little bit in there. So maybe pull that off to the edge just a little bit more than I did. Um, but it came out pretty good. So I have, I think, about 15 minutes of stitch time left, which means I'm going to run just a little bit over. So hopefully you guys can hang out. I will stitch through the end, but I understand if you have to pop off and go do whatever your day is bringing. So we've got, like I said, about 15 minutes of stitching left. I'll change threads as fast as I possibly can to keep that short, but that's all we're going to be doing at this point is changing thread and stitching. So again, this is going to be the lavender color of thread, and we are going to do scallops. Here we go. We had so much fun at the Kimberbell event this past weekend. It went really, really well. We made some absolutely adorable projects. You just ordered an Avenir. Well, congratulations. You are going to absolutely love that machine. I have done a couple videos on that, so you can search. I think the videos, so our out of the box video was with the Avenir because that was the one that we got first. But the other ones that I've done over here, we have the Radiance in our little camera area here, and the Avenir's out on the floor. So, you know, from a standpoint of how it's going to stitch, there's really no direction one way or the other. It's just a matter of, you know, do you like gold or do you like blue? Because that's really what it came down to is, you know, when you sit in front of it, how does it make you feel? Do you like the way it looks? Is it calming for you? Are you going to enjoy sitting in front of that machine for hours and hours? You know, and sometimes that's really all it is. I really like blue. Obviously, we've been talking about that. So I tend to go with a brother between the two, not for any real reason. I do like having the option of Disney. However, there is definitely a little more education available in, pardon me, there's a little bit more education available from the Baby Lock side. I think they do that a little bit better than Brother. So mechanically, they are exactly the same. You're not going to get a stitch difference from one to the other. There's not going to be anything there. And the features are all the same in both of them. So sometimes you can get a better deal on one or the other, or there's a bundle with one that you like better than the other. But really, it comes down to what do you want to sit in front of? Well, we're always happy to help. I appreciate you checking in with us. And like I said, I have done videos and I'm sure I will do more. The videos that I do specific for the machine coming up are going to be for those customers that have purchased. That was part of what we offered them. And with all of the delays and everything, those didn't get done. But I have not forgotten all of you. Those will absolutely happen, and you'll get those links, and they will be private links for you guys because of all of the time that you have given us and chose us. So that's kind of our thank you, if you will, for that. So there will be some lessons on the individual features and how you do that. Sorry, we're going to do the mitten baseline. So we are going to switch to number 442, which is that light tealy green that matches that color there. Just needs to make sure I was grabbing the right color. Sorry about the arm. Can't thread this one without sticking my arm right in front of the camera. There's just no way to do it. So we're going to do satin edges on these guys here. So sorry, pardon me. So I definitely do have some videos that will be coming up, but I talk, because I generally stitch on this machine, we talk about this machine having this feature and that feature. A few weeks ago, I talked about how to add in a quilting design. We have most of those that came from Baby Lock, and all of them will work on both Brother and Baby Lock, which is super cool. So we have most of those quilting patterns. They're called design suites. And if I'm missing one, I certainly can get it for you if there's a specific one that I don't have. But those are really, really great to extend the options of what you have in your machine. And they are very, they can be very specific. So, you know, holiday or hobby or that kind of thing. So it can get you a little bit more specific piece. And those can be used on what I was talking about before with the adding in a um, actually quilting around the mitten instead of quilting first. So having the mittens all stitched and then tracing the edges and stitching between the mitten and the outside edge of your design. So, that might be a fun thing to do as well, and actually have something stitched and do that for you guys so you can see how that all works. It wouldn't work as well with this one because of the lace piece being in the way. It'd be really hard to quilt around that, and it is stitched in instead of an add-on. A lot of embellishments are added afterwards. So this typical, this is not a typical way to add an embellishment, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. But you want that one tucked in. It makes sense that you want it part of that versus just sewn on top of it. But most embellishments you can add afterwards. So yeah, absolutely, Karen. You're going to love the machine. It is phenomenal. And, I've always thought my Luminaire was huge. And then I sit down in front of this, and it's not that the actual footprint is that much bigger, but the arm is just massive. This part of the arm is huge, and it just it's heavier. It is bigger. And then you do have the 14 inches here versus the 13. So it is definitely bigger. But the actual footprint is not that much different. It's just, it feels like it because when you sit in front of it, it's just this beautiful beast that can do so many things. I absolutely love the machine. It's funny. Everybody always, well, do you have one? Did you take one home yet? And I'm like, no, I'm here more often than I'm home. So it doesn't really make sense to take one home. And I have two I can stitch on here anytime I want. So I don't have one at home. I still have my Luminaire at home, but things are a little different now than they have been. So since the last time a top of the line machine came out, but I did take a 10 needle home at Christmas, in fairness. So I figured I should wait before I take another big machine home. But like I said, I'm here more often than I'm actually home. So stitching here, I can stay late and I can have, 10 machines going on whatever project I'm working on. Maybe that's how I should finish the tile seam. I just don't have enough thread. That's the problem. They all use the same colors of thread. All right. So our next piece is going to be the outlines of the stripe and the thumb. And that is going to be color number 443 out of the Exquisite line. And I cannot find the end of it. There it is. Oops, I actually missed. Let's see. Let's try that again. There we go. Here we go. This is about 5 minutes of stitch time. Like I said, we're going to be probably about quarter after-ish, something like that, when I finish this out. Yeah, it's funny, when people are trying to decide between a brand, I don't ever tell you you should get this one or you should get that one. Obviously, if you want Mickey Mouse, you should get a brother. But if you don't care about the Disney aspect, it literally, so when I sit down in front of the machine, I see the blue and I see the gold. I personally like to look at the machine with the blue colors on them better. And a very odd little thing, the buttons, so like your foot up, down, your threading button, all of those, on a baby lock, they are square with rounded edges, and on a brother, they're circles. It's funny because they do actually look different. So when I sit down, the machines actually look different. They respond and they act exactly the same, but they do look different. And it's really, that's, for me, that's the deciding thing. Sit down in front of one and sit down in front of the other and go, what do I like? Because that's literally, the warranties are basically the same. There's just not the difference that a lot of people think that there are. Mechanically, they are not going to respond any differently. It's literally the warranty, the color, the way it looks. And, if you are feeling like you really need a lot of education, I think maybe Baby Lock has a little bit more, but Brother actually has quite a bit. You get master classes that take you through from Angela Wolf when you buy a brother versus the education that is available from Mike and oh, for crying out loud. I can see her face, but I can't think of her name. It's right. I'm so sorry. If you're watching this, I'm so sorry. It'll come to me. But the two of them do such a great job. Um, and I just can't think of her name. That's just terrible. It's going to drive me crazy. Anybody out there remember her name? Are baby locks more expensive? Sometimes it depends. So a lot of times the packaging that comes with them can really change the price. So right now, I think my baby lock is about $1,000 more than the brother. But there's different packages that happen all the time, and how we have to buy those packages on our end will reflect that in there. Yeah, I really do like. No, she's really good too. She's got a lot of information. She doesn't actually work for Baby Lock. Oh my Lord. I mean, it's like literally right there and it just won't come out. Um, she's actually Mike's boss. So they work obviously in the education department. Linda heads the education department. And then these two do most of the videos in the classes. If you go to like they have like retreats that you can actually go to and learn on machines or learn how to long arm and that kind of thing too. Those are when you own the machine, not if you're thinking about owning the machine. You have to own the machine to be able to go to those. But oh, for crying out loud. That is hilarious that I cannot think of her name. It's literally like right there, but it just won't come out. Isn't that awful? I am trying to recall the name of the woman that works in the Baby Lock Education Department, and she does a lot of the training videos. She works side by side with Mike, and oh, I thought I had it. It's literally like right there, and it just won't come out of my mouth. Isn't that awful? It's probably in my phone somewhere, but I don't know where my phone is. Oh yeah, it's way over there. That's not going to help me at all. Um, she has a really cute bob. It's about yay long of dark brown hair. Do you know the lady that works with Mike at the education department and at Brother or at Baby Lock? Yeah, I'm totally drawing a blank. I have no idea what. Oh, it's in that bag, but I don't know if that would help or not. Would you do me a favor and bring me the other squares that you've stitched? Thanks. We'll come back to that. Oh, it's right there. That's going to drive me crazy. All right. The next thing that we have is our blue, which I've moved way out of the way. And that is one more time ES104. This is the same color that I used for Patty. Her name is Patty. Patty Marty. Oh, thank goodness. That was going to drive me absolutely crazy. Patty is absolutely great. And they both know so much. Thank you for that, Carolyn. All right, so we've got this, and then the very final stitch is a placement line. So this is literally our last stitch for decoration. There is a placement line if you are not doing background quilting for things like that, and where to cut, but we're not going to stitch that one. So while this is stitching though, I am going to switch screens real quick and show you some of the blocks that we do have done. Again, there are embellishments that that are going to be added in a lot of these, but this is Welcome Winter. I just love the little simple flowers. The little snowflakes back here, that's one of my quilt patterns, so you can see the little snowflakes. So there's that one. They have winter flowers. We've got the snowflake. And I just did an echo quilting. That was how I did that. I absolutely love the deer. How cute is he or she? Whichever one you want. That is absolutely darling. And the penguin. So the penguin's going to have, I know, a little button here. You can stitch that. It's an ice cream cone that he's holding right here. Again, it's a button option in the embellishment, but there is actually a stitch out for that if you wanted to. And then there's a little palm for the top of his hat. And then there's the snowbird. And this tree. So the tree is actually going to have little sparkle crystals on it that you're going to sew on. I'm not really sure how I'm going to do that. I need to find somebody that actually likes to hand sew, because if you know me, you know that's not my jam. So we're going to add those little beads on there, kind of like ornaments, but it's more like little pieces of snow or something like that. And this is actually an iron-on vinyl. I've not seen this particular product before. It is iron-on vinyl, but it's like velveteen. And it is wicked cool, and it is in the embellishment kit. So this has a really nice soft feel to it, but it's actually ironed on. So you cut it, you pull, and it does rip fairly well. I was a little scared because I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and I didn't want it to rip past anything, but I did try it a little bit. But cutting that is just absolutely darling, and it feels so cool. And it's just absolutely, they're all of the pieces are just great. I do think this one might be my favorite. He's just super cute. Super, super cute. And we've got and so there's also a polar bear and what else am I missing? A snowman. So you've got 4 characters, if you will. You've got a house. You've got the mittens. There's a darling heart that has some flowers in it. They're just so darn cute. And then there is actually these little pieces. You do the 4 and then sew them together. And then, like I said, the snowflakes and things. There's more trees. There's skates. It's just super cute. We do have the entire bundle in stock. So the design, the embellishment kit, and the fabric kit are all available. So we do have everything if you would like to get it and you haven't yet. It might be one of my favorites. I don't know. It's tough. There's the one that I adjusted a long time ago might be my absolute favorite, but this one's running up there really good. It's just, they're so cute. The funny thing is I don't really like to be cold. So winter stuff is not always my favorite. Isn't that a cheeky penguin? I totally agree. Oh no, not Linda. No, it is not Linda Pacini. She's the head of the education department. She does do some videos, but I'm reading the comments since I came back over here. My mouse went dead. Where'd it go? There we go. So yeah, Dagmar, I was talking about the differences between Brother and Baby Lock, and one of those big things is the videos that Baby Lock puts out. And Mike and Patty are a team, and they generally work together, whether one's on camera and one's working the cameras or whatever. But most of the time they are together when they're doing things, and they do a phenomenal job. Linda definitely knows a lot, but she's not. She's more, I think, background. She does videos too, but yeah, they even give. Isn't this funny? They do. They give you a hand sewing needle in your embellishment kit because they obviously you're going to need to hand sew. I don't hand sew well. It's not a skill that I ever wanted to have. Can I do it? Yes. Do I ever want to? No. If it's the only option, I can do it. It's not that I can't. I just don't prefer to. But I was at my husband's grandma's funeral, and you know how they have the family space where you can step away and get something to eat or drink or whatever. And this particular funeral home, that was downstairs. It was a separate room, not just off the visitation room. It was actually come out and go. It was away from everybody else. And they came and they got me and they said, "We need your help." They whispered. And I'm like, "Well, this sounds awful. I'm in a funeral home. What did you need help with?" Right. And so off we go, and we go downstairs. My brother-in-law is standing there in his boxers, and of course his shirt was still, but and his pants had ripped. He had bent over to pick up his little girl, and the seam of his bum completely split open. And he's like, "Can you sew this together?" And I was like, "Oh God." I mean, I can't say no, right? I'm like, "Well, do we have, do they have needle and thread?" And so they found the funeral department, the funeral home had hand sewing things somewhere. And so I'm down there and I sewed it right, with the back stitching because it's his bum seam. I didn't want to have it be all falling apart, right? So I'm down there sewing and he's sitting across from me in his boxers. They're U of M boxers, by the way. It was the funniest thing, and I don't think I ever want to repeat it. So I can hand sew, but I really don't want to. Not my jam at all. All right, so there's my fun story about hand sewing. All right, here we go. I'm going to zoom in just a little bit. All right, so super, super cute. I'm going to get rid of that. So again, that was just to protect the foot from being caught anywhere. All right, so we've got our mitten tie here, and it just kind of looks like it's coming around the back, so I think that's okay. It did get caught a little bit in that stitch, but once it sewed it in, it was really hard, and I didn't want to rip the lace part of it to get it out of there, so we just left it alone. So that is the only thing that I would maybe pay a little bit more attention to for you, is getting this piece here pulled out to the corner there a little bit better. But see how it's tucked in? You've got your little ties. That is just stinking adorable. And then this is loose. And this is your seam line here. So it's going to flow into the bottom. There's a white border that's going to be there. This is at the bottom of the quilt. So there'll be a white border around the whole thing. And this will reach into that border. It'll sit on top of that. So that is just stinking adorable. There you go. That is your mitten, square mutton. I'm not hungry at all, really. Thank you. Thank you. I totally agree. It is stinking adorable. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, maybe learned something either in the comments or in what we were doing here today. And again, this actually came up much easier. The only thing I would maybe pay attention to is where this little piece comes. If you want it to come out this way instead of coming down, pay attention to that. But other than that, I think it came out fantastic. So once again, thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed it, and we will do something fun next week as well. So we will see you guys then. Take care.